which was actually an 8-man tag. Feels like we're watching New Japan all over again up in this. New Day and the Ascension teaming up to take on Los Matadores and Lucha Dragons. And it was basically just a SmackDown rematch because I'm pretty sure this exact same 8-man tag happened on SmackDown.
Yeah, and I think the baby faces won that encounter, whereas the heels won this encounter.
Which I would have preferred if it was actually the other way around, because freaking Kalisto ended up getting pinned in this, and that's not what you want to see from a guy that could potentially be a main eventer in the next year or two.
Man, if Twitwell was a podcast that really didn't try and give legitimate critiques of a product and we just let our fandom soar, I think the way the Lucha Dragons have been treated would be a consistent heat of the night for me, because why didn't you capitalize on this team? But I digress right now.
Well, that's the thing, too, is that we were hearing rumors 4 or 5 years ago, or I think it was 3 years ago, whenever it was that they brought Sin Cara in, that they were going to try and have a WrestleMania match between Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio, and they were going to try and and maybe add Masked Kane into a different match, and try and set the record for the most people wearing a mask in a single stadium ever. And now I guess that they've just kind of dropped those aspirations, or maybe they found out about an event that did such a high number of people wearing masks that they didn't think it was possible to surpass it, or what. But at the end of the day, masked wrestlers make tons of merch money because all the little kids want to wear the masks. And now you've got Kalisto and Sin Cara. Both these guys are masked. You could have them be at the top of your tag team division, and in a year's time, if you want to break them up, they could have a WrestleMania match, and you could still try and do that.
I almost want to ask the WWE if they realize that this isn't the same Sin Cara, because
it's crazy, right? Because it still feels like they're treating him like the botchy one. They're still trying to kind of cover him up and not really give him any kind of momentum. And I think that it might also have something to do with his age, because this version of Sin Cara is in his upper 30s, so maybe the WWE doesn't want to invest too much in him. But on that same note, you just hired Kalisto like 2 or 3 years ago. He's under 30 years old. He could potentially be a Rey Mysterio level top babyface for your company, make you tons of money. But no, they're not interested in any more top babyfaces than the one that they have right now. They just want a bunch of mid-card interchangeable guys with no real momentum that they don't have to worry about getting bigger than the company.
Yeah, and I mean, first of all, Ashton, I could see your point about Sin Cara, but that's what's so perfect about him being in a tag team, because he shares the ring time.
Yeah.
And again, with Kalisto, he is that more youthful guy, and he could be groomed to be so huge. So the Lucha Dragons are an amazing packaging for both sides and for the company. Like, everybody wins. There is no loser in this case. The only loser are really the fans, because you're holding them back and you're not giving them. I'm not saying they should be tag team champions or whatever, but I want them in a legitimate, storyline that is a road to the championships. And Kalisto gets pinned tonight after a Trouble in Paradise from Kingston. Kalisto was hung up on the top rope. Kingston hits him with it and he gets the pin. I mean, fine, if you want them to lose first and then give them a comeback later and put the titles on them, but just I hope that's the case, because...
Well, I think the problem with that logic is that it would require New Day to have the titles, and they don't. And now we've got babyface champions, and Lucha Dragons would make the most sense in the world to be potential number one contenders, but they're not going to do face versus face tag teams when they're doing all kinds of other face versus face stuff at SummerSlam.
Right, yeah. I have to agree with that. It's
really say what
you
you will about Lesnar, Taker, and how, this guy kicked this guy in the balls, or this guy broke this guy's legendary streak, or whatever. This is a face versus face match.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I mean, granted, they could just kind of turn that into like the theme of SummerSlam, but that would put a hell of a lot of great heels out of a job.
Certainly.
Or at least out of a paycheck.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the New Day, and I do, want them to stay relevant and this and that. So it's definitely a conflict of interest for me.
It's funny because we kind of predicted this. We kind of predicted them not having a direction for PTP after they retained against New Day the second time, because they're still kind of playing up this PTP New Day heat, but PTP's beaten them at 2 consecutive pay-per-views now, 3 if you count the Chamber match, I think it was. Regardless, PTP has beaten every combination of the New Day that they can possibly do. And now they need to move on, but there's no one to move on to. So the WWE has PTP coming out doing commentary every night. Xavier Woods even got up at Titus O'Neil's face today being like, hey man, I'm glad you're on commentary. You guys are real fighting champs. They haven't had any title defenses because they don't know who the frick they're defending against, because the New Day are the only heel tag team in the WWE right now that's relevant.
It really says something when NXT's tag team division despite the departures, which let's be honest here, they could actually probably be doing more in NXT right now if they were still down there than what they're currently doing right
Well, and
now.
that's another thing too is I don't know if, and I've actually been meaning to talk to you about this. I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like first thing Triple H wanted to kind of get on the up and up was women's wrestling, and I think that he's done that so far. I would say he's been successful. Obviously, there's still a lot left to be desired, which we will talk about when we get to the women's match, which will be next, but we'll talk about it when we get to it. Um, but now it seems like he's on a mission to make tag team wrestling cool again, specifically in NXT. You've got a ton of tag teams. Most of them have pretty cool tag team finishers, and the tag team division is getting featured now more than ever. Specifically on NXT, we just had a show with 3 different tag team matches on it, and only one of them actually involved the champions.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, and this may come as a surprise to some, maybe not so much to others, but if it keeps going at this trajectory, again, staying with the NXT tag team division, I think that is going to become my favorite division on NXT, and I think that's one hell of a statement to make when you look at their women's division and how
Well, and the
legit that
women's
is.
division just lost 3 top talents, so that's not even that much of a stretch.
Right, exactly. But when you look at the WWE tag team division, I mean, you look at NXT right now. The dominant program is Blake and Murphy versus the Vaudevillains. That's a direction.
Well, and there's also a little bit of involvement there from Enzo and Cass too.
Yeah, and we don't know if they're gonna, stay involved because they're kind of doing something interesting in their own right. But I won't get into that here. That's more for NXT reviews. But just saying for argument's sake, right now it's Blake and Murphy and the Vaudevillains. WWE, they don't know what they're doing because, yeah, like you said, they're drawing primarily on the heat of PTP and New Day, but you've got Los Matadores in there. You've got
and I thought Los Matadores were supposed to have turned heel, but now they're teaming up with the Lucha Dragons, so they're clearly faces. They're doing suicide dives, another sign that they're faces, and it's just like, okay, so now Los Matadores are face again. We thought that they might have been a heel team for a little chunk of time, and then that never really was fully realized. Now they're back to being full-blown baby faces. And now you've got New Day randomly teaming up with the Ascension, who, I mean, sure, they're heels, but how are they relevant? And it's just a massive mess that it doesn't seem like the WWE even knows what to do with right now.
And see, the mess gets even bigger because you have to imagine after this win tonight, bringing it all full circle for the New Day and the Ascension either on a Fallout video on YouTube or just something like that, some program down the line are going to stake their claim. Well, hey, we beat those teams that beat these teams, so like by this kind of proxy, we deserve to be in the tag team championship picture. And I'm like, what? Like, it made sense to me for Elimination Chamber because it was a new concept, it was innovative, and you needed all those teams.
Yeah.
This isn't one of those kinds of base pay-per-views. Now, could I get excited about a tag team turmoil? Sure, I could. But
but the problem with the tag team turmoil right now is that it would have frickin' 2 heel teams, and every other team would be babyface, unless they would somehow manage to introduce. And I can't even think of what another team would be right now. But if they could somehow introduce a 6th team to the mix. Because you've got 5 right now. I can't think of any teams other than the 4 that were in this match and PTP on the main roster right now. Can you?
The only suggestion I'll make, and then, I really have nothing else to add to the discussion. I mean, you have Blake and Murphy drop the tag titles in NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, and maybe they're a surprise entrant at SummerSlam if they'd go that route.
I mean, yeah, that would be great, but that feels more like fantasy booking than trying to look at what the WWE would actually do.
If we're looking at what the WWE would actually do, I don't even think they're going to do like a tag team. I think they're going to do, because let's see, how many teams are in the mix right now? You got PTP.
5.
5. So,
PTP,
I don't know.
New Day, Lucha Dragons, Matadores, and then the Ascension.
Maybe you just do like all 5 teams in the ring at the same time, and you do that kind of like tag team matchup, not even a turmoil, and then you just kind of settle it. It still seems.
I mean, they could obviously just do like a 5-team tag team gauntlet match,
right?
And they don't even have to call it tag team turmoil. They could just call it a gauntlet match and be done with it. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it would be an interesting match. You know what? I just realized, how soon is Jey Uso going to be healthy?
I don't know, actually. But yeah, that's a great point, because if it's soon, you can interject the Usos. And you know what? They've been away from my TV long enough. I could tolerate some Usos back in the tag title picture. I think anything's better at this point than this cluster of a mess that we're getting. So yeah, I'd sign off on that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think, do you have any kind of other little tidbits to mention about the tag team division or the tag team match that we just got here?
No, man, I'm good.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and move on then. Up next, we have the women's match between, I believe it was Becky Lynch and Charlotte taking on the Bella Twins. Charlotte did make Nikki Bella tap out, but we had these 2 picture-in-picture promos, one from each team, and the Bella Twins again trying to be baby faces. I say what you will about the fact that all of these women are getting more time and now they're getting 2 matches per Raw rather than just one. At the end of the day, I don't think that the Divas Revolution will be complete until the women in the WWE start getting written character wise as actual human beings rather than just, oh, they're all just women that are catty and sometimes get in a bad mood.
See, and this is what frustrates me too, and I'm really glad you brought this up because you make an excellent point. I think in all of wrestling, obviously, there should be character consistency, but I think this is especially true when you're dealing with your champions, with your representatives, in that regard of your particular division. Nikki Bella needs to realize that, yeah, she was kind of the catalyst for this whole revolution, but not in the way that she's thinking. She was the catalyst because Stephanie McMahon thought that Nikki Bella was getting too big for her britches, and she's like, oh, I'm the most dominant woman, I'm this and that. She was a braggart, and pride cometh before the fall. This is the fall, eventually, of Nikki Bella. I don't think it's going to be at SummerSlam. I don't even think it's going to be at Night of Champions. Maybe they're saving it for WrestleMania 32. I don't know. But her fall is coming, and that's what this is all about. And yet she has the screen promo where it's like, well, it's all thanks to us. The Bellas are so amazing. We caused this whole revolution, and so you should be thanking us. No! No.
And they shouldn't be embracing it so openly. They should be pissed about it. This happened as a way to punish them.
I feel like, and I'm gonna sound like such an old salt, so forgive me, but I feel like if you had a heel Lita or a heel Trish or somebody else other than Nikki Bella in this role that was a heel,
dude, heel AJ Lee.
Heel AJ Lee, she would be fuming about this. She would be like, this is my division. What are all these women doing encroaching on my division? I won't stand for this. I'm better than all of them. I am the best diva in this division. I am this diva's division, which AJ's actually said that verbatim.
Yeah. That was when she was a babyface, though.
That was when she was like that cutting edge, oh, look at me, I'm imitating my husband kind of babyface. Yeah. But, the fact stands, like, yeah, she would own it in the sense, like, I hate what is happening to me right now. Where when you ask Nikki Bella point blank on commentary, like they did, I believe it was last week, Ashton, what do you think about this whole deal?
2 weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks ago. What do you think of this Divas Revolution? I think it's great. I think this Divas Revolution is great. What?
Why? Why are you so happy about this when it's something that was done as a way to punish you for being as arrogant as you have been? Now it's basically just kind of makes her come off. It really does kind of try and make her come off as a babyface, and it really irritates me because I think that the whole point is the Bellas are kind of tweeners. They're faces when they go against Team Bad, and then they turn into heels when they go against what we would find out call themselves the submission sorority. But I don't think that they should just be switching back and forth depending on who they're going against. They need to have the consistent characters like what you were talking about that just happens to interact with people in different ways depending on how the other people interact with them. I could see somebody work out in a way that they are kind of tweeners in that they go against both the baby faces and the heels, but don't completely change your character in order to do it.
This could be some of the best work that Nikki Bella could ever do in her career because she has gotten a lot better in ring. You and I have made note of that multiple times. She is the champion. She's the champion at a time when all these new talents are coming up. And I think the only thing really preventing her from really saying, like, wow, this is some of the best work I've ever done is herself. It's kind of a running theme tonight ever since Seth's promo at the top of the show is that, the worst enemy of Nikki Bella, I think, is Nikki Bella, or maybe in a grander sense, if we're really breaking that fourth wall, the writers for the Bella characters.
And that's kind of my problem too, is that who do we blame for this whole kind of issue? Is it the writers' fault because they write Nikki Bella's promos and then they book them in a way that they're supposed to be heels? Or is it Nikki Bella's fault because the writers are giving them gold to work with as far as heel promos go, and Nikki Bella just doesn't know how to cut a heel promo?
If we had a clearly defined A, B, C with, just Nikki being so consistently heelish and just saying, like, I hate this revolution, I hate it, the Divas division is Bella's, or just something to that effect, I'd be all in because I'd be like, yeah, girls, like, take her down. And I still do want them to take her down, but not because she's a great heel, but just because I'm so over it. If you want me to be honest.
Exactly. She's not the type of person that we want to see get beat up. She's the kind of person that we want to see unemployed.
Exactly. Just leave, because if you want the cold truth, guys, and this is going to be how I punctuate our review, of this whole match. Um, I feel like what Team Bad is doing with the Submission Sorority, which is the name for Paige, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch's team. I
Yeah.
like it. I think it's clever enough. I like the swagger and the heelishness of Team Bad more than the Bellas. It almost makes me wish that, well, actually, it does make me wish, because we're just waiting for that day to come, that Sasha Banks was the Divas champion,
Yeah,
and
she
she
will
was
be.
like in the
I think
spot.
she'll be the one to take it off Nikki, but my biggest concern is that because of the inconsistencies, WWE doesn't know whether Nikki's a face or a heel, so they won't make Sasha take it away from her, because that would directly make Nikki Bella a face, and they don't want to really commit to either side.
Absolutely, and it's such a
I think
shame.
honestly, I think Paige is probably going to end up being the one to take it off of her, if for no other reason, just because Paige is the next most inconsistently written character out of the nine.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a shame, because I think with a clearly defined heel, and not to take anything away from the women in this kind of, because you could tell in this tag match, I heard one really loud pop at one point. I think that may have been when Charlotte got the tag and it was a closing sequence. But
Yeah.
the crowd, I think, is definitely getting into these women, and they're being responsive, which is amazing. And I don't want to take anything away from them for that. But I feel like, and it's not even them. Again, it's really just isolated on Nikki Bella more than anybody. If she was just a more clearly defined heel, if she owned it, if she didn't need to be wishy-washy for whatever her reason is, this story could be so amazing, because Nikki Bella has improved so much in the ring. And I feel like if she had the heel tendencies to really go with it, she could be a great heel champion for this division. And yet I'm just so meh about her in the final analysis, which is really sad, because this is great stuff. And I just can't get 100% into it because of the heel, or the alleged heel, in this whole feud. So.
Yeah, I think the problem is that the WWE is trying to be like, oh, we have three teams, so we have to have a face team, a heel team, and a tweener team. No, you don't have to have a tweener team. You could have two heel teams and a face team, and that would make the face team stand out more, because it's like 3-on-6.
Absolutely, and let's be honest here. Maybe it's just because, like, for anybody that was up on NXT and knew Sasha Banks, and if you're a Naomi fan like I am, and she makes the argument about the Bella dominance, I think Team Bad would qualify more as the tweener team anyway. It's just that the
Why?
Bellas are just straight up bad heels.
No,
Um,
Bad is very clearly the heels here. They're very consistent.
I feel like that they're better heels than the Bellas, but I think if you look at the arguments of, oh, we want opportunities, Bellas have been on top so long, like, if we were
Right,
gonna
but
go that route,
they're classic heels.
right,
I feel like you keep on telling me all the time that I think it was Chris Jericho said it in his book. The best heels are the ones that tell the truth.
right,
That's a Chris Jericho quote, right?
I believe so.
Well, that's what Bad's doing. They're being the best heels right now because they're telling the truth.
Well, somebody has to be.
Well, on the other hand, the Bellas are basically acting like heels and talking like faces, and that's where the disconnect is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go ahead and move on.